Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MK Ultra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it moments ago.
Reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
Can the CIA overrule the president?
No, the CIA cannot overrule the president. The CIA cannot even overrule the director of national intelligence. In 1975, the Church Committee, which became the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, specifically ordered DCI William Colby to release all of the MK Ultra files. He famously went back to CIA headquarters and ordered that all of the files be destroyed. 85% of them were destroyed. He was held in contempt of Congress, and then CIA employees lined the halls and contributed cash to pay for the fine that he was ordered to pay. We only know what we know about MK Ultra because of the 15% of the files that weren't destroyed. These are among those 15% of the files. They are mandated to be declassified. The American people have a right to know what is in these files, and the CIA can't raid offices, least of all the offices of the Director of National Intelligence. It's just, real life isn't supposed to work this way. This is crazy.
This is something out of a movie, but the CIA was experimenting with LSD on willing and unwilling participants.
MK Ultra, that's a fact.
During the Cold War for
that's
intelligence.
We're going to get into it, class.
And to exploit people, and it didn't go well a lot of the time.
Wiping memories out and everything.
And they threw it all in a wastebasket, right? Like it never really worked. Is that why they don't want anybody to know about it?
We're going to find out about it, and we're going to know about it over here.
I think they don't want people to know any more than what we know about, for example, dosing innocent citizens of San Francisco, California, or a small village in France, and putting LSD in the yeast at the only bakery in the village, just to see if everybody in the village would
wiped out our whole memory
which
back.
They did, of course. Or coming up with
trust the CIA, you can't trust the Gov, can't trust none of them, y'all. That's why I asked the question, y'all. What was that you put in your system during that goddamn?
You just have to hire Swalwell. He'll do pretty much anything.
That goddamn experiment. You know what I mean? With Fauci being involved with it. You notice a lot of people lose being unalive. People out here losing their minds and all types of shit. Did they do MK Ultra on the American people? But let's find out what MK Ultra is, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't. We already got the facts, and we're going straight to the facts. 3, 2, 1, go.
I was given a glass of Kool-Aid, and so were the other children. This Kool-Aid was spiked with LSD. It was horrible.
In the early days of the Cold War, the CIA ordered the creation of a secret program intended to find ways of mind control. They funded an army of psychiatric institutions across the United States and Canada to perform experiments on unsuspecting patients using psychedelic drugs, sensory deprivation, electroshock treatment, and more. The program was known by its codename, MK Ultra. At the end of the Korean War, a number of freed American POWs came home seemingly brainwashed and espousing communist propaganda. American officials suspected that the soldiers had been subjected to what they thought were new communist mind control techniques. Alarmed by the situation, the newly formed CIA allocated $25 million for psychiatric experiments on human beings.
It was the most secret program ever conducted by the CIA in the United States. Patients at psychiatric hospitals, prisoners in federal institutions, and even people in the public were given drugs without their awareness or consent and experimented upon.
Initial projects within MK Ultra included Operation Midnight Climax.
They established what were called safe houses where prostitutes would lure men to these apartments, and then once the men were in the apartments, they were dosed with LSD, and then they were basically studied by CIA scientists, usually behind a two-way mirror.
Another common practice was the hosting and observing of LSD-induced parties with live music. These parties were called acid tests, and the culture that grew out of them played a key role in the development of the hippie and psychedelic movements a few years later. However, some of the most damaging experiments occurred at the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, Canada. There, under the direction of infamous Scottish-American psychiatrist Dr. Ewan Cameron, unsuspecting patients, many of whom had common ailments such as postpartum depression, were experimented on with aggressive drug cocktails and extreme techniques.
My father was a victim of Dr. Cameron. He was a 27-year-old, healthy skier, canoer, very athletic, and he had asthma. They told him if he went to the Allen Memorial, they could cure his asthma.
My father, Charles, was a patient of Dr. Cameron's. He had a trigeminal neuralgia, it's called, where there's a pain in the temple that radiates into the jaw that apparently is excruciatingly painful. They told him that it was psychosomatic, which it's not, but in those days, what did they know? So they sent him to a shrink. This shrink that he went to was working with Cameron. We didn't know, so he put my father right into the program.
I was having trouble with my parents. My father and my stepmother decided to put me in the Allen Memorial Institute. They had no idea what went on in there. I was 16 when I was there.
Dr. Cameron pursued a concept he called depatterning, which was meant to reduce patients to an infantile psychological state wherein doctors could take advantage of the person's cognitive vulnerability to attempt to rebuild their mind under the doctor's control. A popular method of choice to achieve this was called psychic driving.
The day that my father was brought to the hospital, they immediately put him on insulin, to put him into like an insulin coma.
It's they took clips
from the interview with the shrink and put it on tape to run a loop under his pillow while he was put into this
out here losing their mind.
He also was put in an insulin coma for 36 days.
All types of shit going on.
With a recording beside him,
damn it, MK Ultra,
saying that your mother hates you over and over and over and over and over.
That was beside my bed constantly, repeated 250,000 and 500,000.
They keep repeating now.
Another common method was the use of extreme
the antidote for who?
Therapy.
Trump.
Page Russell shock
Listen, y'all,
treatment is
the Democrats, y'all.
40 to 75
but this some
times
other
the
shit.
strength
This some
of a normal
CIA
shock
shit.
treatment. So it's really designed to wipe out the memory.
Look,
he
wipe out the memory, goddammit.
54 high voltage shock treatments, followed by 54 grand mal seizures.
After 27 days of this, they said that they were discouraged because he still had ties to his former life, in that he was asking to see his wife. They decided to give him more Page Russell shock treatments and put him to sleep for another 30 days.
Damn.
When patients were released from the Allen Memorial, they and their families' lives would never be the same again.
Well, there's a lot I could not remember after I got out of the Allen. When my family came, I was a zombie. I didn't even know who they
like
were.
A zombie, you heard her?
He never came out the same. He had a blank look in his eye. He didn't know who we were. He didn't know we were his daughters. He lost his job. We went into poverty after he came out.
Damn.
He had said in his interview with
totally
the shrink
different man.
that I was the apple of his eye. And after he came home, he started beating me not long after.
In 1973, the MK Ultra program was terminated, and some of the evidence of its activities was systematically erased.
The whole thing was basically discovered because of a whistleblower named John Marks, who wrote the first book really about the program called The Search for the Manchurian Candidate. There were congressional hearings here in the United States in the mid-70s after it had been exposed. And during those hearings, the CIA finally admitted that this program existed. They admitted that it was probably not the right thing to do, but they feigned innocence.
Despite the congressional hearings and marginal interest in the subject in popular culture, most MK Ultra survivors suffered in silence, taking their trauma with them to the grave. Today, having received no formal apology or compensation, the children of some survivors are pursuing a class action lawsuit against the institutions they deem responsible.
The CIA knew that it was breaking every moral,
when it comes to reparations, ain't nothing out there for us,
in the books to do these experiments.
They all were behind it. They all knew what they were doing.
Fauci knew what he was doing.
It out of care or love. They were
See, when you know your past, goddammit, you bound to not to repeat that shit, y'all. Know your history, y'all. Know your past. Know the past history of what's been going on in the United States of America, y'all.
I want everyone to know in Canada what went on in that horrible, horrible hospital.
While historians and survivors have exposed MKUltra's exploits to the world, much remains unknown about its extent and wider impact. Given the highly sensitive nature of the program's activity, it is likely this will remain the case for years to come.
Yeah. See, now you heard that. Let's go to another video.
Is that love for you or hate?
One of the most consequential events of our lifetime. And to this day, the American people have never received a full accounting of where it came from, what our government knew, and why they had to fight their own government to find out. Today, the committee will hear from an intelligence community whistleblower about these questions. The witness will testify that the CIA scientific analysts repeatedly
once again,
concluded that a laboratory leak was the most likely origin of COVID-19, and that those conclusions were buried, softened, or withheld from Congress while the public was told to trust a different story. For years, Americans were told to trust the experts, trust the agencies, trust the intelligence community, and trust the officials who assured us that they were following the science. But the evidence before the committee tells a very different story. Today we will expose a system in which a small circle of officials, scientists, grantees, and intelligence advisors move from agency to agency, meeting to meeting, briefing to briefing, reviewing one another's work, and shaping one another's conclusions and presenting those conclusions to Congress and the public as if they were independent conclusions. Only it was not independent, it was a circle. One part of that circle is a body most Americans have never heard of, the Biological Sciences Expert Group, known as BSEG. Or the B Group. BSEG operates under the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Its stated purpose is to give the intelligence community access to outside scientific experts on biological threats.
And no one was held accountable. And why did they pardon Dr. Fauci? And he ain't commit no crime, ladies and gentlemen. Have y'all asked yourself that? Why they pardon that man and he ain't commit no crime? They knew he committed a crime on the American people. A lot of people lost their lives behind this shit, y'all. And no one is held accountable. And I guess they just going to erase this like they tried to do MKUltra. In 50 years, they're going to come out and say this shit was a hoax like Trump said it in the beginning. Y'all better pay attention, y'all.
Sounds reasonable, but not if those experts are not independent.
Fact.
For example, Dr. Ralph Barrick collaborated with Dr. Zhengli Shi in Wuhan to create gain-of-function coronaviruses.
Look at that.
But Dr. Barrick was also part of BSEG and an active consultant to intelligence agencies on the origins of COVID-19 pandemic.
Wuhan,
Likewise,
for those who didn't know who was in Wuhan, here's the characters that was in Wuhan, ladies and gentlemen. Stop playing, y'all. We go get these facts and bring them back to y'all. Who was in Wuhan, y'all? Huh? Who gave him $5 million, y'all? Wuhan lab to study a virus, y'all. Huh? Here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's Johnny.
There he is right here.
On biological threats. Sounds reasonable, but not if those experts are not independent. For example, Dr. Ralph Barrick collaborated with Dr. Zhengli Shi in Wuhan to create gain-of-function coronaviruses. But Dr. Barrick was also part of BSEG and an active consultant to intelligence agencies on the origins of COVID-19 pandemic. Likewise, Peter Daszak received hundreds of millions of dollars from the U.S. government and worked with Dr. Shi also on these gain-of-function experiments. Daszak was even sent to China with the WHO to investigate the origins of COVID. So the very scientists that were commissioned to investigate COVID were, in some cases, the very scientists who were complicit in the origins of the gain-of-function experiments that may well have created COVID. In essence, the intelligence community pays researchers to review work and write papers. NIH funds their grants. The CIA then consults them and gives them access to classified information. The national academies publish their work. Policymakers then cite the result as a consensus. But it's a circle. At the center of the government side of this circle was Dr. Anthony Fauci. For years, Dr. Fauci was not merely a public health official speaking for the NIH.
Like a
he had a long-standing relationship with the national security and intelligence apparatus on biological threats, dangerous pathogens, classified life sciences researches, pandemic preparedness, and COVID origins. Again and again, documents show him being brought into national security discussions far beyond ordinary public health messaging. During COVID, intelligence officials arranged for Dr. Fauci to review highly classified intelligence assessments that could not even be sent outside the White House complex.
Hold on. During COVID, when Fauci was in control and he was telling everybody to mask up, where was Dr. Fauci at, ladies and gentlemen, during that time? Let's go see. Here's Fauci right here, ladies and gentlemen. Listen. Turns out the government disease doctor Anthony Fauci was not the only fan allowed to attend the opening night Major League Baseball game between his beloved New York Yankees and Washington Nationals on Thursday. The media's favorite virus expert was also able to bring along his wife and a close friend. And for at least a few moments, it seems the good doctor was not following his own advice, ladies and gentlemen, but had y'all doing what? 6 feet distant in the house with a fucking mask on. And look at him.
During COVID, intelligence officials arranged for Dr. Fauci to review highly classified intelligence assessments that could not even be sent outside the White House complex. But how can Anthony Fauci objectively comment on a discussion of COVID origins when he approved the very funding that may have caused the pandemic virus? From the outset of the pandemic,
his own advice.
Dr. Fauci shaped the conclusions. Dozens of times, he referred to the idea that the pandemic originating in the lab was a conspiracy, that it was a conspiracy theory. Dr. Fauci convened the now infamous February 1st, 2020 call. Some scientists on that call privately raised serious concerns about a laboratory origin. Yet ironically, those same scientists later co-authored the proximal origin paper, which publicly dismissed the lab leak hypothesis. One author received a $9 million grant from Dr. Fauci's own agency after he changed his opinion from lab leak on the private phone call to natural origin in public. At the same time, Dr. Fauci coordinated with the national academies on coronavirus origins and public-facing messaging. These were not independent experts reaching a consensus. They were part of the same machine, designed to reach the same conclusion. The question is not whether the government may consult experts. The question is whether those experts were independent, whether conflicts were disclosed, whether dissenting views were preserved, whether the lab leak possibility was fairly evaluated, and whether Congress and the American people received the truth or a curated result. When Congress asked these questions,
and then you had to sign a consent form before you took the COVID. You should have, red flag should have went up right there, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to sign a consent form stating you can't sue nobody if you fall ill behind this shit or be unalive. You can't go after nobody. They had this shit mapped out to the T. I told you they studied this, y'all, under the microscope. That MK Ultra shit in the past, goddammit, guess what? Past came back to bite you on your ass. And I ain't even talking about the Tuskegee experiment when they had them brothers line up and take that experiment and they shot them brothers up with syphilis. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time, y'all. The CIA and the government has never been trusted, y'all. Y'all know this. But we had our own peoples out there once again getting crumbs off the plate, selling their own peoples out. But when you came and tried to wake the peoples up and say, I think you should wait and let the science really play out about this shit because it just came out of nowhere. It's an experiment. Hold off. Don't get it. But I know they forced you to get the experiment because you was going to lose your job and a lot of y'all got bills to pay. I know. They had this shit mapped out to the T, y'all.
Government officials lied to our face. They classified the documents. They suppressed the information.
See?
They changed the definitions. They invoked sources and methods. They told Congress
there's people that should still be alive right now, y'all. But we don't got the money to do our own private autopsies, y'all.
Director of National
And
Intelligence,
then they signed consent forms so you can't sue nobody if they did get under lock
he said a
behind
lab
this
leak
shit,
was the only explanation credibly supported by intelligence, science, and common sense. He warned that partisan politics and analyst disagreement with Trump administration policy, Trump derangement syndrome, had created illegitimate roadblocks to the truth. I agree.
Trump deranged syndrome going on out that motherfucker,
which Congress passed unanimously, should finally make intelligence on COVID's origins public. I couldn't agree more. Despite a unanimously passed law, though, requiring the declassification of all information related to COVID origins, the deep state still resists this congressional mandate. Our witness today will explain what happened inside the CIA. According to his testimony, CIA scientific analysts concluded multiple times between 2021 and 2023 that a lab leak was the most likely origin of COVID-19. Yet those conclusions never shaped the official narrative, never made the intelligence report. Congress was never told.
And no one been held accountable. If it came from Wuhan in China, why? And I hope, and I know that's my man's. Trump just met with China president. You see what I'm saying? But, you know, we play chess over here, ladies and gentlemen. That's my man. That's my guy. But who was in the bed with China for them to leak this experiment on the American people? Who was in charge? We went back and got the proof who we seen in Wuhan lab, right? It was our own peoples, Barack Obama and Dr. Fauci back then. Pay attention, y'all. Trump exposing all this shit. It's for us to pick up on this shit and run with that shit. They fumbled the ball, pick that bitch up and score a touchdown with it, and drop a motherfucking video.
It was not until after the 2024 election that the outgoing Biden administration directed the CIA to issue an assessment, not because of new intelligence, but so officials could walk out of the door claiming there was nothing left to find. That is not analysis. That is a cleanup operation.
Biden lost his mind behind that shit.
This hearing is about more than
Didn't
one
he, ladies
witness,
and gentlemen?
one assessment, or one agency.
Didn't Biden lose his mind behind this shit, y'all?
It's about a federal apparatus that told the American people to trust the science while hiding the machinery that shaped the science. It's about an intelligence community that relied on outside experts whose conflicts were never disclosed. It's about public health officials with access to intelligence
telling you
that Congress has struggled to obtain.
All that foolishness.
It's about researchers and advisors cycling through grants, contracts, classified briefings,
nobody was held accountable.
Service and advisory committees.
And it's business as usual because some of y'all are ignorant to the facts.
Even though they weren't. The cover-up is not
Scroll
just
up on
about
my
protecting
videos.
one
I've been talking about this shit for a long motherfucking time, yo.
Of labs,
fuck
grants,
that shit. Somebody need to be held accountable. Why did Dr. Fauci get pardoned if he ain't commit no crime, y'all? When Joe Biden went out with the auto pen. That's not a real pardon because that was an auto pen.
Children lost.
That millions died. How many hold them?
Businesses were destroyed.
How many people died behind that bullshit?
Past any moratorium, any congressional inquiry, and any election. After millions died, children lost years of learning.
Facts.
Small businesses were destroyed.
Facts.
Civil liberties were restricted, and dissenting Americans were censored and smeared. The government owes its people the evidence.
Facts.
Our witness is testifying publicly today at great personal risk. He and other brave whistleblowers have come forward because the truth was being buried, because government secrecy cannot become government impunity. I want to acknowledge the Trump administration officials who made good on their commitment to transparency and cooperated with this investigation. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy, Director of NIH Jay Bhattacharya, Director of the National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, and former Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. They set a standard. I expect the rest of the administration to meet it. We owe the American people a complete record. We owe every family harmed by this pandemic a government that does not hide behind secrecy, conflicts, and curated science when the stakes are life and death. In public, starting today.
Is that love for you or hate?
Fed up over a lack of coronavirus tests in her community, pediatric surgeon Dr. Ayla Stanford took matters into her own hands.
Every time someone got turned away, I would get a call.
On a rainy day last Friday, Stanford and her team of volunteers gave over 200 people diagnostic tests in a Philadelphia church parking lot.
Who's paying for this right now?
I'm paying for it.
You're paying for all of these tests.
I am.
In the past 3 weeks, she's been able to test over 1,600 people. Wendell Stewart showed up early.
They're giving numbers out, and how do they know if they're not testing people?
Right now in Philadelphia, they're testing around 1,500 people per day. But health officials say they need to test at least 5 to 10 times that amount before they can even consider safely reopening.
Like communities around the country, demand outweighs supply. While we were there, the test started to run out with nearly 100 people still waiting.
We're going to be out of testing kits.
But persistence paid off, and a local hospital came through, donating more tests. So far, less than 2% of Pennsylvania's population of 12.8 million have been tested since the beginning of March.
I think it's really important to have a steady supply chain that we can count on in terms of testing.
Working under Joe Biden.
And it seems like that is developing.
Pennsylvania's Secretary of Health, Dr. Rachel Levine.
We want to be able to test every symptomatic patient in Pennsylvania, and we're working towards that.
Right now, is it easy to get a COVID-19 test?
It is much easier. So some of it depends where you live.
Philadelphia and other southeast parts of the state will remain closed for now. But northern counties with lower cases per capita are among those that could be the first to reopen. In rural Lycoming County, Andrew Brum is preparing to reopen the historic auto bookstore.
Until you can get tested, what makes you feel safe?
Personally, we've been just very, very cautious in terms of any exposure. In terms of just general safety, I'm not going to say that there isn't some concern, especially having a young daughter.
The state health department says it's been able to test more than 40,000 people within the last week. And while some businesses will reopen in Pennsylvania on May 8th, it will largely be a partial reopening. Restaurants will remain curbside and places like the movie theaters will remain closed.
Say it, I say it. Oh, I say it again. You've been had.